Hello, this is StyleCon coming at you today with another video. Let's get into today's topic of discussion, and that will be about ETA parts and will you still be able to get them. Now, I've watched a couple of YouTube videos. Some people are saying, no, you can't. Actually, the majority of them are saying that, but there may be a fine line here that you will still be able to get parts. And let's look into it right now. I brought out some dusty magazines that I have. This goes back to August 2003. And we have on the cover the Swatch Group playing Monopoly. At least that's what they were calling it back then. We have the great man himself, Nick Hayek Sr., God rest your soul. And what I did was I highlighted the pertinent information. But if you want to pause that, read it for yourself, you're more than welcome. But some of the things that, the Abachis, they were using them in counterfeit watches. Now, I did make a video on that particular subject, and that one's called Why ETA Decided to Cut Off Its Movements. And that's one of the main reasons, because they were selling these Abachis really cheap. And then they were fixing them up, and then they were selling them to the Japanese and the Chinese, and then they were putting them in counterfeit watches. Then it talks about what the Abachi is. It's an incomplete watch movement, no balance, no escapement, no mainspring. But you can pause that for yourself if you like, read that. Then we have some other information right here. Now, when Nick decided to do this back in 2003, they said that the Swiss wristwatch world could lose 1,000 jobs. But he said, no, it's going to be about 200 jobs. And he said he would offer anyone that lost their job as a result of the ETA plan a position with his company, which I think is nice. Most people don't do that. And then we have some other pertinent information. And he talks about how no one wanted to invest 1 cent in the technology, which is true. All these companies were just living off of him. And then he talks about how much the equipment costs, 5 million to 10 million Swiss francs, so they could start making them for themselves. And then here is one of those things that's like a kick to the gut when you know a little too much. The low cost of the movement blanks. It's 15 Swiss francs. So somebody's buying that for $15 and turning around and selling you a watch for $4,000, $5,000. That's absurd. Which I talked about Frank Mueller doing that. And then here is the big to-do back in the day. There was a shipment of watches that were confiscated that were coming into the United States. And basically, when they opened them up to find out what type of movements they had inside them, they found out that they were ETA. And it was the third-party suppliers that they had to give them to. So say I wanted to start my own watch company, the StyleCon watch company. All you would have to do is just call up people. I need cases, I need bracelets, I need movements, and then they would sell them to you. And at that particular time, with the Swiss Competition Commission, ETA had no choice but to sell to third parties. But at the current time, they don't want to do it, and they're not doing it, which I don't blame them, because he said that was their biggest problem. And then we go here to 2000 and, where is this one? August 2010, if you want to, check the articles out for yourself. Or like I said, you can pause this, check it out, read it. And then it just goes more into detail. Now, this happened before he died. But the most powerful thing is on the cover here. I'm not going to deliver anything. No movements, no abachis, no hairsprings, nothing except to real watchmakers and manufacturers. Now, that watchmaker part leaves a lot of room for interpretation, because are you talking about a watchmaker like Roger Smith, Philippe Dufour? You're talking about F.P. Journe, which I don't really think they are talking about, because needless to say, F.P. Journe pretty much does his own stuff. Roger Smith does his own stuff, so they wouldn't need anything from him. Maybe a few parts here or there, but not a lot. So I think that watchmaker could be that guy that's down the street from you that has a watchmaking shop, that you come in, you drop your watch off, and he repairs it, because that's a real watchmaker. But that is left for interpretation. And once again, this is a topic of discussion. So needless to say, if you guys have any thoughts on that, leave them down in the comments. And then I highlighted the pertinent information, at least what I believed is pertinent. And this is just a great article. So those of you that might be worried, don't. You still might be able to get your watch repaired. That would be kind of crazy. You have to send in your Breitling with an ETA movement into ETA and not Breitling. So like they're saying right here, like Tag, Breitling, and Movado, to name just a few, buy some of our movements from the group. So, they're still going to be supplying. Let's just jump on the next page. And this just goes into like some of their factories and everything they own. Back in the day, Swatch didn't have all this stuff. And what happened is, as Swatch grew as a company, they started buying up all kinds of companies, Navirox, ETA, and then a bunch of others, so they could supply their own company. And that was a smart investment on Nick's part. Like I said, he's a watch god to me. And if you're into him, you might want to read his story. Very great man. And see, what he wants to do is get rid of the newcomers. And even like Jean-Claude Bivet, thank God he's doing it. He should have do it immediately. This will weaken only the weak, and the weak brand should disappear. Let me get that back in focus, sorry. But if you want to go ahead and check that out. And I just think, this should shed some light on this particular subject, because like I said, I've watched some other channels, which I do frequently, and they were talking about how the possibility of not getting ETA parts or movements at all. The only thing is, it is left to interpretation. So I say a watchmaker is anyone that goes to watch school, gets their, I forget what they actually call it. It's sort of like a master's degree where you can go in and you can make your own parts. I think it's master watchmaker. That's like the highest level that you can get. And even, beloved Patek Philippe, look who they're using, some of ETA's parts. Right here, they're talking about Rolex. They'll still be able to get ETA movements, for the Tudor brand, but needless to say, Tudor, is making their own movements, which is a copy of an ETA 2824 anyways. But needless to say, they will be supplying people with their movements, and you will more than likely, even though obviously I have no crystal ball, because this has been going on for a long time. I showed you the magazine from 2003. It says 2016, and then this is from 2010. So this has been going on for an awfully long time. Eventually, it will come to an end. And with that, we'll have to wait and see if what Nick said, about watchmakers getting parts will hold up now that his son's taking over the company. But, once again, he's worried about those people that, have no involvement in the watch industry, that's just trying to make a couple dollars. And here we go, the big part. We will keep our promise to sell movements to our traditional watchmaker clients. So I would say you still might be able to get the parts. But if you guys have any comments, leave them down below as usual. Once again, this is StyleCon. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below as usual, and I will check you out in the next video.